So I've watched this episode now like 3 times. It's the day after, and I'm beyond impressed at what I watched. It was absolutely magnificent. Magnificent isn't even the word. A lot of what I saw in this episode exceeds anything I've seen in the fantasy realm. The conversations that are started, the deaths that are did, it's all just, it's incredible. Like the spoils of war, I found myself throughout the episode shaking, like rapidly shaking, because what I was seeing were things that I've been waiting for years to see, watching these characters grow and seeing them all come together to talk in this one incredibly directed, not rushed, suspenseful scene where all these characters, two sides who hate each other, are here to talk about a really important issue within Westeros. As I said, all these characters, they come together, the good and the bad, together to talk about this important issue. This is the start of the episode. The main characters you love, you got Tyrion, Jon, you got Sandor, Clegane, you've got all these different characters. You even got Podrick, and they all come to King's Landing to talk. And before you actually get to the Dragon's Pit where they all meet, you have these great little conversations, these dialogues that are happening between characters that haven't even seen each other for quite a while. So you see Bronn and you see Tyrion talk, and Bronn's got this iron heart and this tin heart even. And Tyrion sort of said, "I missed you," and Bronn said the same thing. It was sweet. It was sweet to see those two characters who are friends. They're very different characters, but very similar in different ways. But they both come together, and in that moment, while it's a bit weird because they're on opposite sides, you see that there's that friendship, that bond. And then you also get to see Clegane and Brienne in the same scene. They have not seen each other since the end of season 4, whenever she kind of beat his ass and she thought that he was dead, but he's not. And they share a pretty cool conversation, and Arya comes into the mix, and you see that the Hound cares about Arya's well-being and that she's alive, but also, where is she? Who's protecting her? But Brienne replies, no one needs to protect Arya. The people who would come after her should be more worried about themselves because, Arya is so well off now, and I think the Hound saw that. Even Tyrion and Podrick share a moment. I mean, the last time they saw each other, it was the conversation about, whenever Podrick was with all the girls, that situation and how hilarious that was, and then it's brought back up whenever Bronn is in the mix. It's really funny, and it's also just, it's awesome to see. It's awesome to see these characters back, even if it's a bit of a weird situation. When they all get into the Dragon Pit, they meet. Cleganes are there, both Cleganes. You got Gregor and Sandor meeting each other, and they share a bit of a confrontation. Gregor doesn't say anything because obviously he's now zombified, and he doesn't really say anything. His main goal is to protect the Queen, and whatever she says, he does. But Sandor still, he laid it out. Through all of this, he will be the one to kill him. Gregor literally burned him as a child, so I can kind of get where he's coming from, even if it's his brother. And now that Sandor's sort of seen him, he's like, okay, we're now in the even playing field, at least with looks, because they've both been scarred. Gregor just a little bit more. But then Cersei's there. You have Cersei waiting for Dany, because obviously Cersei, she has this image of Daenerys as this conqueror, this person, this, in her words, bitch. She thinks of her like the Mad Queen. And Daenerys is late, so that doesn't really hold a great precedent for her, at least, first impressions. But when she does arrive, it's the way she enters the scene. I mean, with the dragon, with Drogon showing up there, Drogon screams basically in her face. Cersei is trying to hold back that awe because she wants to stay composed, she wants to stay stern. But yeah, Cersei definitely wasn't happy that Dany was late. Then they get to the point where it's sort of like, why are we even here? Why is this happening? And the Hound comes out with this big crate that they'd shown before, and you're like, to be honest, at first I thought it was Ghost. I was like, yes, Ghost is back. But it's obviously you find out that, and most people already knew that, I'm just being stupid, because I was like, finally we're gonna see Ghost because we haven't seen him all season. But yeah, it's their captive White they got in the last episode, and he comes out screaming, and it's a really great entrance because obviously when you show this crazy, sort of mythical creature, an undead being, to someone, you don't want it to be underwhelming. You want to show their awe. And obviously, while Cersei throughout this scene was very composed, when that White came, running for her, you saw that terror in her eye. And even though she's still trying to be very manipulative throughout this episode, we find different things out. She's still aiming for the throne. You still saw that fear. And they pretty much convince her until it comes to her question, her sort of bargain. And Jon is in between that bargain, and he's like, nah, I'm not taking orders from another queen. I can't take orders from two queens. I have to stick with Daenerys. That's where my loyalty is. And Cersei's like, fine, if you don't want to go with my bargain, then the deal's off. And Tyrion, being the negotiator, went, talked to his sister, sort of got through to her. It was quite a personal scene because obviously they haven't shared a moment together in quite a long time. And like a one-to-one conversation. Obviously, a Gregor in the back, ready to cut his head off at any point if she asked. And that did come up in a conversation that, he was like, kill me. And she couldn't do it. You could still see there's still some love for Tyrion, in family. She blames him for everything. She blames him for killing her father, her mother, her child. It's a very hate-filled relationship there from her end, and also from Tyrion's end. But through this conversation, he, as we know at this point, got through it to her. Obviously, throughout the episode, we find out some new stuff, but at this moment, we're like, okay, Cersei's, thanks, Cersei. She has no real bargain. She's like, we're on your side. We're going to go to the north. We're going to help you. Oh, by the way, my computer is starting to make some major noise. I'm getting a microphone soon, so I apologize. This is madness. We then have Littlefinger having a conversation with Sansa, and he basically, in what he said, was kind of not hinting, it was pretty loud, to kill Arya. And this made it very clear to where his fate would be. Littlefinger has got by 7 seasons at this point unscathed, but it is going to be his time. But then we go to Dragonstone, where Theon confronts Jon to sort of thin out the air. I mean, he has been holding a lot, between them. What Theon did, Theon did some despicable things. He killed 2 boys and framed them as Bran and Rickon. That is, on its own, he killed the boys, he burned the bodies, because obviously his pride, he wanted to show that he killed them, and obviously he couldn't find them. He also killed Roderick Cassel, so it's like, this character has a lot of bad backstory. He has betrayed his family, and obviously not the Greyjoy's family, his real family, truthfully, the Starks. And he doesn't feel like he can be forgiven. He's basically like, Jon, you're such a great person, you've done all these great things, it's like you never, miss a beat. And obviously, Jon has also done some not so wise things. He hasn't done what Theon's done, and that's acknowledged, but Jon forgives Theon for what he can't forgive. Theon doesn't have to choose between houses. He is both Greyjoy and Stark. So I thought that was a really cool way of having that character, and I was like, the character's still not redeemed, and this is when this character takes it upon himself to go to the Greyjoys, still loyal to Yara, and plead that they go with him to save Yara. And the main dude, I can't remember his name, but he's like, no, are you kidding? We're leaving. We're going to get an island. We're going to kill all the people and have all the women. And Theon's like, no, he's standing on his ground. So they start fighting, and it doesn't seem like it's going in the way for Theon. He's being completely beaten up to a pulp. And the guy's saying, stay down, just stay down, or I'll kill you. And Theon's like, no, because he has been through this. He is the one to stand down. He is the one to run away. And this is his time. He does not stand down. He goes for it. He's still being beaten up. And the guy just knees him in the balls. And who knew that not having balls would come to an advantage, as he feels no pain, apparently. I still feel like there would be some pain down there. But yeah, the guy repeatedly hits him down there and he has no pain. you see the smile on Theon's face, and I laughed out loud. It was like almost 3 o'clock in the morning. Theon gets a 1-up, he beats him, and we have Theon sort of redeemed. He still needs to get Yara, but I feel like this was a huge moment for Theon. He still needs to free Yara, but I feel like his arc is kind of complete now. We then go back to Winterfell, where we see Peter Baelish finally meet his end. All his roads have ended. This is the end of his path, and he is caught for what he has done. He has started so much stuff. All of this that's started in the show is essentially his fault. We know how instrumental Littlefinger has been in this and what he has done. I mean, he killed Catelyn Stark's sister, Lysa, and what he did with Catelyn, how deceptive and conniving he has been with Sansa. It was finally his time. It was finally his time to meet his end. And I thought it was quite poetic in the way he met his end, being that Arya slit his throat. His voice is his main tool, and she removed that in his last moments. I mean, he pleaded, he even got down to his knees and, fake cried. He was like trying to get out of there. The Veil wouldn't even let him get an escort. And I do like the misdirect that they played. I mean, I think I was almost fooled, having Arya sort of presented as the culprit and then pointing at Littlefinger, and that was such a fantastic moment.
Get on with it.
You stand accused of murder. You stand accused of treason. How do you answer these charges? Lord Baelish.
And I have a feeling some people may say that it wasn't deserved, but I think having that sort of misdirect, that build-up, and having that sort of payoff in that way, definitely, at least for me, felt like it all worked, and it made me like Sansa Stark a lot more, because she has had a bit of a weird playoff in this whole show, and this season has been her time to sort of take command. I love these sort of moments with a character. This isn't the only time we've had this. She is very commanding when she speaks. She has grown in that. We saw her as this fragile character in season 1, and now we see her as the Lady of Winterfell. See a really fantastic moment in the show, and I'm sure it was quite a hard choice for the showrunners to get rid of that character in that way, but it's such a great story point. We then go back to King's Landing, where Cersei is pretty much done with Jaime, and he is pretty much done with her. Her original plan was to stab Daenerys in the back to sort of agree to this, and then while they're off fighting, to take over. That's sort of her plan, and admittedly, there's some smart in that, but also just extremely stupid considering the circumstances of 100,000+ undead people and freaking ice dragon coming towards you, and you're focusing on taking over Westeros. It's like, what? I get that you know that eventually Daenerys is coming for that throne, but do you not want to see the world survive? But yeah, you have this very interesting conversation. Cersei is a deceptive character, but she is also very smart. She has went up the ranks, keeping Euron by her side. We thought that Euron was leaving. He was like taking his ships, goodbye. And I was like, oh, well, alright. But no, he's really going to Essos to take this 20,000 soldier army that the Iron Bank are providing. And in this conversation, in this plan, Jaime was completely hidden out. He didn't know any of this was happening. And I think this is a point where he's like, I can't trust my sister. My sister is making decisions that I don't agree with, and to some degree are moronic. But she's changed. She's turned into a different person, and that is shown through her almost killing him. And I love the way those two characters play off there. She gives the order to Gregor, he pulls out his sword, and he's like, I don't believe you. And she lets him off the hook. You still see, there's still that care, it's family, and the father of her son, so it's like, do I kill him? Do I not? He's going to go off to the other side. But he gets out, and he's on his horse, and you see snow. Snow is now in King's Landing. It is snowing in King's Landing, and I still don't understand. Cersei needs to wake up. I mean, that is just insane. We've been hearing since season 1 that winter is coming, but finally definitely winter is here. Obviously King's Landing isn't as far south as Dorne, but it's still, it's snowing in King's Landing. Also sparked by a thought of the snowfall in the dragon pit and showing the dragon bones. I love that conversation that Daenerys and Jon had, and saying about how they kept these incredible creatures left in this small sort of box. Then a huge moment happens in this episode where Sam arrives in Winterfell and goes to Bran's room. And this is a moment I predicted. I predicted this probably weeks ago. I said that Sam would go to Winterfell and he would meet up with Bran and have a conversation about Jon's heritage. And he would confirm it to him, and Sam would then lead off the information to Jon, telling him. And that's what happens in this scene. It is fantastic. Hearing the music, seeing, the great dialogue, seeing the reaction Sam had whenever, for one thing at least, Bran said that he was the Three-Eyed Raven.
I became the Three-Eyed Raven.
Oh. I don't know what that means.
But Bran says to Sam, and, shows an urgency that Jon needs to know that he is, and they say his name, Aegon Targaryen, the heir to the throne. And we knew that he was the heir to the throne, but absolutely mind-blowing. A fantastic moment, and it's weirdly transitioned between that and Daenerys and Jon having sex, which was a pretty hot scene. I can't lie. I mean, it's incest. It's really weird, and even in the commentary those two had about the idea of those two together in that situation, it's weird. It's really weird, but it was a very satisfying scene considering that we knew that this was going to happen. That halfway through this season, it was pretty much confirmed that this was going to happen. My question now is, how are they going to react after they find out? And yeah, even though it's said that Daenerys can't have another child, that is someone's word. That isn't, it doesn't have to be factual. And this could mean that Daenerys has a child. We could be seeing signs in the next season, which also sort of leads me to some concerns about characters staying alive or not. Jon Snow is the most important character in this show. And with all these sort of revelations and how, when Wise and Benioff were pitching the show to George R.R. Martin, the question he asked was, who is Jon Snow's mother? And then obviously we find that out, it's Lyanna Stark. But the fact that that was the main question, the fact that that is such an important part of the show, and the fact that he's going to play a huge part into the next season, and has played a huge part from season 6 to now, with Bran going into the past and seeing the Tower, and seeing now in this episode the marriage, being informed by Sam about how there was this marriage that happened. I just can't wait to see how this all turns out. It's going to be very interesting seeing how he plays out this character, because he's very humble. He is very humble. We'll see, I don't know, but this was a fantastic moment. We then have Arya and Sansa sort of sharing a better moment. This was a sweet moment where Sansa still finds Arya annoying, but they love each other. They're sisters. Also, I love the way Sansa used that quote, "When the snow falls and the white winds blow, the lone wolf dies, but the pack survives." This line by Sansa was used in the marketing in a different way to what it was actually used in the show. I thought it was used in a much darker way, but with this, it was much more hopeful. It showed that sign of family, the connection, and how they must stick together and be stronger as the pack. George R.R. Martin said that it will be a bittersweet ending, and that could be a complete misdirect. For season 7, apparently they shot scenes that weren't actually going to be in the show. They just misled the public while the production was on. But this also could mean we will see a lot of characters die in the next season. And I don't know how to feel about that, because obviously right now, other than maybe Cersei, Jaime, some of those characters, I'm okay, sort of okay. I'll obviously be torn. I'll be like, no. And I don't even want to say the characters that I don't want to die, because for some reason I feel responsible if they do die, but I really don't want to see our main characters die, our main good characters die. I don't want to see Jon die. The first time was traumatic enough. But yeah, then we cut to Bran, who's by one of the secret trees, just sitting there. He is the eye in the sky. He goes over the wall, and you pick up with Tormund and Beric, who look over the edge of the wall, it takes a few seconds before you see a White Walker come out with his horse, and behind him, thousands upon thousands of the undead, and you're like, okay, now where's the dragon? And then you hear the noise, you hear the sound of Viserion, and then he swoops just so fast, such an incredible shot of Viserion swooping by and shooting this frost fire out of his mouth, and it's insane. It is something I have never seen before in this scale and this magnitude, and he's coming around again, and Tormund's like, run, just get out of there, because obviously he means business. This is a dragon, this isn't someone who can climb a wall. Having this dragon who can swoop there in a second is pretty terrifying. The way the dragon flew in, and the way they directed it with the music and the beautiful visual effects used to see him absolutely destroy a part of the wall. He didn't destroy the whole wall. I think people were kind of overestimating that, but it's reasonable enough to say that he destroyed a pretty big chunk out of the wall. And the way the visuals work with the blues, it's beautiful, it's magnificent. Seeing the Night King on top of the dragon. Obviously I'm rooting against him, but it's still incredible to watch, seeing the wall being taken down, and I'm so glad it was done in this way and not how I was hoping it wouldn't happen, because obviously we had that sort of almost misdirect, and I think that was part of the genius that maybe the writers threw in there with the opening title sequence showing the frozen over water, and how people thought that maybe the White Walkers in the Army of the Dead would just go around the wall, and that would have been very unsatisfying, but instead they take it down. And we end the episode where I'm pretty sure Tormund and Beric are still alive, but now the White Walkers are through. They are on their way through Westeros. It is happening. Now we have to wait until 2019. So that's my thoughts on this episode. Absolutely fantastic episode, very satisfying. I'm so pumped after watching it, and I can't wait to talk about Game of Thrones for however long until we get to this coming season, which 2019 probably. I'm gonna make some videos here and there about the show, you know, maybe speculations, some theories. So yeah, that's my thoughts. What did you think of this episode? The Dragon and the Wolf in the comment section below. Tell me what you thought of my review in the comment section below. Hit the like button, tells me you enjoyed it, and subscribe because it makes me feel good and makes me want to do more videos. So hopefully you enjoyed my review of the season 7 finale of Game of Thrones. Winter is here.